Hey everybody, it's Harry from SoCal. I am super excited today to bring you this episode. We are going to be doing a pork butt special. I have with me my guest, Donna Fong. We're doing a collab together. She's from Butcher's Daughter Barbecue in Alameda, California, and she's going to show me how she's going to do her flour trim and take us through the explanation of 16 different mussels. We're going to cook this pork butt to perfection, and we're going to taste all the mussels and share the results with you. We have a pork butt, and Donna is going to talk you guys through the anatomy and how she does her flour trim.
Okay, so I've been a judge since 2004, and in that time since judging, the evolution of what gets turned in for a pork butt entry actually has changed in competition barbecue. Around 2007, there was a new trend of turning in money muscle. And it's gotten to the point where oftentimes we only get money muscle in a box. And as a cook, I started cooking in 2011. I always thought that that was a shame because the pork butt is actually 16 different major muscles in this one cut. So there's a lot of offerings here that isn't normally appreciated because either the piece is overcooked or undercooked. By and large, because it's such a large muscle, much of the pork butt remains undercooked while the money muscle is served. By using a flour trim, what we are trying to achieve is to have a greater number of offerings in the box. So there are 16 muscles. We're going to make an attempt to open up the pork shoulder so that all of it is a possibility for entry. So the challenge is that there are muscles on the exterior which tend to cook first, and then there's muscles on the interior which tend to cook last. On top of that, we have light muscle and dark muscle. So the white muscle tends to cook faster than the dark muscle. And then on top of that, we also have very large muscles which tend to cook slower than the small muscles. And so the flour trim is an attempt to even out all of those factors. So what we have today is a right pork shoulder. The muscle that most people are familiar with in competition barbecue is, of course, here, the money muscle. It is very well marbled and absolutely delicious. It's easy to spot because it's on the exterior. If you turn it a quarter, you'll see that there is a scapula here. So the scapula looks like this, right? So it's the scapula and on a pig is very similar to what we have in the human muscle. So you'll see that the bone looks like this. So there's a bone like this here. And then the butcher actually makes a cut. So the bone actually comes out a little bit further, but he or she makes a cut along here. And what you'll see is that the horn muscles rest inside the fossa of the scapula. So the supraspinatus is here, the infraspinatus is here. Both are absolutely delicious. For those not in competition barbecue, you know that the meat often associated with the bone is extra tender and often a dark meat, which is what I like a lot. So you can't really see it, but it is underneath and absolutely just, so we'll do another turn here and you'll see the bone sticking out here. As we roll towards the back of the shoulder, you'll see that, and so the money muscle is facing towards me at my belly. As we move further back, the muscles tend to be white meat instead of dark meat, and they tend to be drier. We'll turn it one more time and we'll see the edge of the money muscle and then sort of the remnants of the muscles as they run out. So on the top here is what will eventually become, as you move down the pig, the pork chop. And so here, by looking at the horn muscles, you'll see that the pork chop is quite lovely. As it moves further down, it becomes what you're familiar with as a cut that you'll serve in the kitchen as a pork chop. So the eye of the pork chop. The horn muscles are sort of behind the money muscle, and those are 3 different muscles. My favorite of this entire pork butt is the trapezius, and so the trapezius is actually the muscle here in the back. Those of you that work out know what your traps are, and that's actually embedded inside the fat cap. Once this is cooked, when you remove the fat cap, you'll notice that it's the shape of a triangle, which is the reason why it's called a trapezius. This is an excellent muscle to serve as an entry if you can remove the fat from it. It is extremely tender and very delicious. Do your best not to get the fat cap stuck on your grill. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin the flour trim, and the idea is to start to pull out each one of these individual muscles so that they can all bark up and cook more evenly. If this remains together, then the muscles individually will not cook as even. So the first cut that I'll make is sort of to shape out the loin here. That means that I'll cut into the fat cap. I'll probably cut into this, which is the spleenus. I could leave that intact and make a cut sort of here and then bring that down. A major cut will be here, which will be between the longicimus dorsi, which is the pork chop, and then the tubes back here. The additional cut that you can make, and I probably will make here today, is here. So between the money muscle and the tubes. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and that's the major portions of the flour trim. That's actually looking pretty nice. I'm going to disassociate it right here. So I'm going to leave the spleenus on the fat cap. So I'm kind of making a separation between the pectoralis profundi. So you gotta have to be careful if you want to follow the delineation made between the two muscles using the fat layer, the connective tissue that's bringing them together. Okay, with the realization that as you cut further and further in, you're also reducing your cooking time on this muscle. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to make a cut here. I'm going to separate out the tubes. So I'm trying to give greater mass to the tubes so that they have a fighting chance when they're cooking. So it's just going to have this funny shape. Okay, so it runs thin as it comes towards the camera, but away from the camera it thickens up. So if I turn it the other way, you can see how it thickens up here. The next cut here is to separate the longicimus dorsi from the subscapularis. The subscapularis actually sits below the scapula. That's the muscle that sits right against the bone. These are two different muscles. I'm going to separate it out right here. So you can see here, I'm opening it up nicely. What do you want to do? Do you want to remove the silver skin or not? In my opinion, yes, because you want bark to develop. And so one of the muscles that really gets a chance for entry into the box is the longicimus dorsi. Okay, so I think it's absolutely delicious. I don't like how it looks like this, right? This is probably a minor muscle associated with the dorsi. I'm going to trim it out so that it's round. And you can see just how wonderfully marbled it is. And then we're going to put some effort into removing the silver skin here. That's about as good as I'm going to get it. If you're better, you could have saved that. If you wanted to take a chance and serve this muscle, I think it's too thin to remove this. If I removed it, I think it would cook too fast. So I'm just going to leave it on for that muscle. As you move towards the back, a lot of this is very dry. You can begin to remove the bone. How you remove the bone is up to you, or expose the bone per se. I'm going to leave the bone in because I want it to be able to protect the supraspinatus and the infraspinatus. This is actually one of my favorite muscles. One note to remember is that know that your horn muscles are here. There's one that you see, and there's another one that you don't. The one that you don't is actually quite large, and it runs underneath the bone into the pork shoulder. You want to make sure that you inject, if you inject, that you include that in your injection. So we've arrived at the back of the pork butt, and so what you have here is the round bone of the scapula, and then you have a lot of muscle sort of down here. This is the serralis ventralis, and then you have the longus colli here. So this is the rope muscle. This is often the driest muscle here. Is definitely a white muscle, and it runs into the pork shoulder. So what I want to do is remove all of this connective tissue, and then I want to release the serralis ventralis. So I'm going to remove this, okay? And then we're going to make an incision here. The reasoning for doing this is the serratus ventralis is quite large, and there's just no chance for it cooking. So by removing its association with the bone, you quicken the cooking time. Even so, I'm not sure that I would serve it because it tends to be a little bit drier. You can see that it's not terribly well marbled, but who knows, after we're done cooking it, maybe we'll think a little differently about it. The beginning of this ridge is starting here, right? So I don't want to go too deep into it. I don't want to touch sort of the ends of the horn muscle, right? Because the horn muscles are starting to come out this direction. I love trimming. I've taken 3 different anatomy classes in college: comparative vertebrate anatomy, human anatomy, neuroanatomy. I come from a line of people that like to butcher. My father's a butcher, so the desire to understand muscle, the relationship of it to other muscles, how they taste, all of that is something that I was born with. So this is as good as gardening for me. So here's a trim pork shoulder. You'll see that, and the scapularis that is inside. So the scapula is here with the horns underneath, horns here. The money muscle is here. The tubes are here. The pork chop is here. Subscapularis, and then serralis ventralis. And the fat cap is on the bottom. Okay? So we went to a grocery store last night. There's a wonderful Korean store, H Mart, down the street in Diamond Bar. And they had cross sections of a pork shoulder, which is a great idea because it illustrates all the different muscles in it. The problem with a cross section is that you're not going to see all 16 muscles in a cross section. You'll see some of them, but not all of them. You'll see that this one has a cut in it. The reason why it is because it's been deboned, right? The scapula has been removed. And so that's a cross section on this side, right? The bone is on this side. And then the other one doesn't really have much of a cut. That means it's on this side, okay? And so the money muscle is here, and you'll see it's sort of that nice round medallion. There is some connective tissue sort of connecting a bunch of little muscles, but generally you see it as this round medallion. As you move further to the right towards where the scapula is, you'll see that it flattens out a bit, right? And you'll see that there are horn muscles underneath, sort of inside to the money muscle. And you'll see the pork chop here, which is quite large. And then here, you'll see that it runs sort of up and high. See how it runs up and high and it thins out. Here it's thinning out, okay? And you'll see the white muscle here, right? So the rope muscle, the latissimus dorsi, the rope muscle here, it's all quite dry. It's also lighter in appearance. And then here is the major muscle, the serralis ventralis. The triceps is sort of back here. You can't really see it. So depending on where you are on the pork shoulder, you'll see different cuts. But this is a very nice illustration in terms of what you're dealing with. You'll see that the money muscle is very well marbled compared to the rest of the pork shoulder, which is the reason why cooks turn it into judges. But there's a lot more in here that is well marbled depending on the shoulder that you have. So let's see what we can do today.
We're going to use some slapyodaddy all-purpose rub on these pork pieces. I'm going to cook it up really hot and fast and cut up the muscles so you guys will find out results. And we'll do a taste test also on all the different muscles that Donna described. So we'll share the tasting impressions with you. For those of you who are competitors and are only used to serving the pectoralis profundi, hopefully you'll find this video helpful, where we showcase all the other different potential muscles you could use to wow the judges at a contest.
The other point of making this video for me personally is that is for the judges to learn, because judges know the difference in a chicken, what the wing should taste like with the breast and what the thigh ought to taste like, but they don't necessarily know what all the different muscles in a pork shoulder entry should be like, right? So if a cook turns in multiple muscles, it is important, it is imperative that a certified judge know the difference in how each one of those muscles should taste. So if a Monday muscle is not turned in, right, and let's say the logisimus dorsi is, the pork chop is, then the judge must know that it is a pork chop, that it is not a money muscle, and cannot say that it is not as tender as a money muscle, all right, because it is a pork chop. So you wouldn't judge the tenderness of a chicken wing to the tenderness of a chicken breast to the tenderness of a chicken thigh. You just wouldn't. They're different. And so you have to base it on the type of muscle it is. And so this video is really for judges as it is as for cooks as well. So it's important to learn all of this, and I'm hoping that this will sort of bridge that gap in knowledge right now. There's a trend that's coming here in California, is probably spreading across the United States. So I implore judges to learn what these different muscles taste like, experiment at home, go ahead and cook. It's not that hard. Pork shoulders are pretty cheap. And, you know, do what I'm doing right now, and then see what they taste like so that you know the difference. You should be able to identify all the different muscles in a very similar way as you can a money muscle, okay? And yes, I season the fat cap because it's delicious. And my favorite muscle is below here, so we gotta treat it well.
We're going to cook it on my trusty Daniel Boone pellet cooker today from Green Mountain Grills. And I've had this for a few years, and again, thanks to my buddies at the GMG company, including Jason Baker. Jason, your pit here is used a lot by Harry. And put the pork butts in.
So, fat side towards the heat. Is the heat coming from this direction?
I would put it the other way. The heat is hotter on the right hand side. I would put the butt here and this one over there.
Okay, so I always face the fat side towards the heat. And because I want the money muscle to cook slower, I have it away from the heat.
We cooked the pork butt so that it's firm enough to slice, and we're going to compare it against another pork butt that has been cooked the traditional way. So you have one competition pork butt on this side here, and you've got our Donna's flour cut pork butt on this side. We're going to trim up the muscles now and show you guys how the different muscles look once they're cut up, and we'll do a little taste test. Okay, we have a feast of pork butt right here. Donna has painstakingly dissected and cut up all the different muscles. So I'll let her take over and explain to you. We have a pork butt that's cooked competition style here. And we have the flour trim right here. And I'll have Donna tell you guys what is what.
Okay, so here we have the 2 money muscles. And then we have the tubes here. And the latissimus dorsi. So latissimus dorsi here is quite small because I was able to sort of trim it out. Here I kind of guessed how large it was. Maybe it's this, maybe it's a little less than this. To me, it seems like it is 1 muscle. Horn muscle here, some horn muscle here. The tubes are here. They're pretty overcooked, so hard to say. The trapezius here.
Trapezius here is a very good eating.
Trapezius here.
Trapezius here, good eating. Also called a bacon by some teams.
Infraspinatus is here. So the horn's here and here. The rhomboid is here, which is the bump. And then I think the bump is over here for this one.
Rhomboid over here.
And then this is the longus muscle. Here and here you can tell because it's white in coloration. And
lots of dark meat and lots of white meat, and depending on the location, they cook differently. They have different textures and they have different flavors. So you have here a completely dissected pork butt, cooked flour style as well as competition style. And next thing we're gonna do is try some of it, right?
Yep.
All right. So Miss Donna's gonna take one for the team, right? She's gonna eat all these muscles and gonna tell you guys which is which. We'll start off with, of course, the money muscle, pectoralis profundi. She's gonna take a bite of that. It's a little bit overdone, but that's okay. We just want to show you guys, how the texture and the flavors combine with the two. You can eat one from the flour trim and one from the competition style. Eating the pectoralis profundi from the flour trim.
Good. Delicious. Is the tubes behind it. So this is mostly semispinalis.
Semispinalis. Eating the semispinalis.
Lovely.
Good stuff.
Yep. This is latissimus dorsi, which looks a little weird because it's got that fold underneath it, but definitely drier.
Recommended for the box or not?
Not on this occasion, but I have tasted it where I would recommend it for the box.
Okay. All right. And here's the one for the other bigger one, right? It's the what I call the pork chop.
Right.
Pork chop with muscle here. Sometimes it works out. You can slice it nice and thin for the box, right?
Did you inject this?
Yes, it's injected, yeah.
Yeah, so it's sweet.
Sweet, yeah, good. So passable. The pork chop,
Completely not passable.
not passable. Okay, so pork chop, no can do, right? So depending on what you want to take a chance on, these are a lot of parts on a pork butt.
Yeah. So it's the horn.
Yeah. The danger of turning in, of course, is that the judges don't like it or they are not being educated as to the number of diverse muscles. So you would risk a judge scoring you down. So a lot of teams, we tend to play it safe. We turn in basically pulled pork coming from the trapezius, coming from the horn. And then we typically cut the money muscle or pectoralis profundi into medallions for the box.
Yeah.
So we keep it safe. So like for me, I usually turn in just the money muscle and the pulled pork.
I'm going to try this.
What's this?
This is the subscapularis.
Subscapular. Where is this located underneath the scapula?
It's actually located right on top.
Right on top. Okay, you can eat the top piece. I've not been able to enjoy the top piece. It's usually kind of hard and dry.
It's not great.
Yeah, okay, not a great piece. So I don't usually put the muscle on the top of the collarbone here. Okay.
But it's definitely good, but it's not as good.
I think it's the pulled pork sandwich category. Only for pulled pork sandwich. Chop it all up and put some sauce on it. Right. Okay. Next one is what's this one?
So this is the infraspinatus, right? So this is normally what would be into a flat iron steak.
Flat iron steak on the beef cow.
It's tender.
Tender, dry.
A little bit dry.
Yeah, a little bit dry. I can tell. And then the last one is the.
Generally, the further back you go.
Yeah, the drier it gets, right?
Right.
Okay, here's the
It's the
small white
longest
muscle.
muscle.
Okay. Where's the spaghetti? This is the spaghetti?
This is it.
Oh, okay, so it's the spaghetti. Okay, you're eating the spaghetti. So the spaghetti, what I do is I shred this spaghetti into like long little strands like noodles. That's why I call it the spaghetti.
Right.
But she cut it into kind of strips.
I think
so
it's
it's kind of
better.
like white meat.
I think it's better
white
that
meat
way.
here. Better that way.
Oh yeah.
Tastes a bit like chicken breast, but not my favorite. I like to shred it, kind of make it a rosette, but that would consider be also marking your box. What's this part?
I think this is the bump.
The bump, okay, the rhomboid.
The rhomboid.
The little bumper, right? Pretty hard, not very good eating.
That's not bad.
Ready? The rhomboid?
That is not bad.
Rhomboid. Oh, actually it's good. Good
It's
eating.
not bad.
Delish. Okay, so I know. Maybe next time I'll turn in the rhomboid.
That is
Try those
surprising.
guys. Surprisingly good. This
That's
rhomboid is good.
surprising.
The rhomboid is over here, right?
Yeah, let me try that one. I'm sorry to run out of room.
The rhomboid is the delish. Glad we did this exercise, Donna,
Yeah.
because I found another muscle for my pork box, which is the rhomboid. We call it the bump in the back.
Yeah.
I never served that bump before, but maybe going forward I should serve the bump.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, and then the trapezius.
Criminal
Right.
not to eat
The
this.
trapezius is really good. This is the best part. It's like eating bacon. It's good stuff. Yep. Okay, so just to recap a shot here. Okay, number one, pectoral profandi, right? We're going to serve that. We're going to serve the trapezius. The tubes are good. And then the rhomboid is good. The scapula, the kind of horn muscle underneath the horn
Oh, the
is
horn
good.
is good, yep.
Horn. So there you have it. So we have about 5 or 6 muscles that we think are good for your competition pork box. So please, in the future, be a little bit adventurous. Do not just turn in your money muscle in a box. And then for judges who are watching this video, especially KCBS judges, please use this video to educate yourself to the flexibility and the diverse number of muscles, dark meat and white meat, available for your pork butt. And when some team turns in entries that are more diverse, showing their skill in cooking all these different muscles of dark meat and white meat, please give them an honest score and just don't score them down just because you see meat you don't understand.
So I hope that you found this YouTube video to be helpful. My hope is to show judges and cooks alike how diverse the pork shoulder is, and that there are many muscles that compose the shoulder, and that it should be judged individually. So it isn't a entry just for money muscle. There's a lot of possibilities, and you have to judge each muscle on its own merit rather than against each other.
Awesome. So, sweetie, thanks for helping out on my channel, doing a collab. Couldn't have done it without you. So, folks, this concludes another episode from Slapyodaddybbq. Please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you all to my Patreon subscribers who are sponsoring my channel. It allows us to do projects like this, where we can take apart a pork butt and show you guys all of the diverse muscles. So until the next time, we'll see you in the next video.